Hello and welcome. She started her professional career as a professor of English, but decided to make a switch to law mid career and is today the Senior Executive Officer and General Counsel at the country's largest carmaker, Maruti Suzuki India. A Felix Scholar and Masters in Law from the University of London with distinction, she is the winner of several notable awards and is a key member of many organizations and associations, including being a nominated member of the Confederation of Indian Industry, National Committee on Regulatory Affairs, and on the board of the UK India Legal Partnership. She has successfully leveraged her functional business understanding to lead industry initiatives and support government relations work, notable among them being the formulation of a voluntary code of ethics adopted by NetHealth, the National Healthcare Federation of India. An experienced general counsel with 25 years of successful history of working across South Asia, US, ANZ, and Japan in diverse industries like industrial, manufacturing, auto, healthcare, power, and services, she is skilled in strategic advisory, board and listed entity management, complex transactions including JVs and M&A, litigation, regulatory and public policy, enterprise risk, compliance, and change management. She brings a global and innovative mindset with strong local execution to help grow businesses in challenging regulatory and business environment. Someone who believes in professionalism, perseverance, and patience as mantras to overcome challenges and add value. Ladies and gentlemen, our guest today is Ms. Manjaree Chowdhary, who leads a team of 50 plus legal professionals and works closely with the board, the CEO, and the leadership team to provide legal and compliance support in a dynamic regulatory and risk environment. Manjari-san, welcome to Mobility Outlook and our program Women in Mobility, wherein we speak to women leaders across the mobility spectrum to understand their leadership journey. Welcome.
Thank you, Dipanshu. It's been my pleasure today to have this interface with you.
We'll start off this discussion by asking, how do you define yourself as a professional?
You just talked about my mantras. I think I'll start with them. As a professional, I believe in being passionate about what I do. I believe in persevering always to achieve what I'm setting out to achieve and showing a huge amount of patience in getting there. Besides that, I think I'm also, I believe in lot in self-confidence, the ability to evolve and remain relevant at any given point in time, and also supporting the business as an effective and trusted business partner.
Right. You started your professional journey as an academician, but then you decided to move to law. Take us through that journey.
Well, I've said it before, and I hope to say it again, and I hope that people will believe what I say. But this was very accidental. I was all set to do my PhD on D.H. Lawrence and continue as an academician. When circumstances one thing led to another, and I decided to continue doing my law while I was teaching, and then decided to take a sabbatical and went off to London to do my master's. It was there that I actually got really interested in doing law, and I enjoyed the subject a lot.
Right.
And when I came back, I was quite determined that I'm going to say goodbye to academics, and then moved into corporate law.
All right. Talk to us about the evolution of law, particularly in the manufacturing domain, from what you've seen in the past to what it is today, and how do you see this evolution going forward?
I think it's just not about just manufacturing, and we can come to that later, but talking of law evolving, I think the last decade has, and it continues to be so, has been a time of excessive and regulatory changes in the country, where the government is coming out with new and different types of regulations across industries. And in the manufacturing industry, of course, we've seen many different things. In auto, more particularly so, when we've had BS6 come in, we've now had regulations around sustainability, around relating to environment, relating to doing corporate social responsibility, which is something that has taken such a center stage in the last 2 years. Legal regulatory ecosystem has certainly evolved, and it has also been and remains very, very dynamic. So that obviously comes and throws up its own challenges to people like us who are in-house counsels and the businesses.
Right. So when you started off to where you are today, talk to us about you being a leader, your approach to leadership.
It's been over 20 years now, I think, since I've been a people's manager. And I think my approach has always been one of immense responsibility. And I've always taken this on as a, something that the organization has entrusted me with. And I need to live up to that. And with that is the huge degree of understanding of what I do and my scope of work, a huge amount of accountability towards that, and an approach of collaboration. I think that is what an in-house counsel is all about, that you can't work in isolation. You are an enabling function, and therefore you have to carry people with you. And I always have believed that you will always find the answer, and you can find the right solution if you put your mind to it. Sometimes there could be occasions when there is some risk involved, but then I think that needs to be flagged to the organization, and there are collective decisions to be taken. If sometimes, the organization may decide not to go ahead with something, and at other times there could be a considered risk that the organization may take. But yes, that needs to be spelled out.
Right. Now, you've talked about your 2-decade-long journey of connecting with people and managing them. When we look at the current situation, I'm sure you have a team that has diverse culture, people from diverse culture, as well as different generations of people working together. Does that pose any sort of challenge for you as a leader?
Not really. I think I have always been a people's person, and I think I have always endeavored to understand and put myself into the shoes of the people I'm dealing with. So when I get teams in, I know that there could be a assistant manager level person who just had 3 years of experience to somebody who will be a 20 plus years of experience. So I try, and I think I've been successful, but it is certainly challenging at times, because your own way of thinking and your own experiences tend to come to the front. But I think the trick is to keep that thought process behind, and to begin to think and to make yourself extremely relevant. And I think both in terms of managing businesses, the relevance, and in managing people. I think if you're relevant and you relate with different age groups and their needs, and we couldn't have seen it in a better example of this than we saw during COVID, when people of different age groups had different requirements. COVID had sort of attacked all of us in the same way. But I have observed that I have a team where I have young women. So they are mothers, young mothers. So, their needs of managing home and family, integrating and creating that balance is so really important for them to work effectively in office. So trying to understand those needs, trying to help them through that, trying to understand, the problems of, at a little elder age group of team members, they have older children to look after and older parents to look after. So how do you sort of empathize with them in terms of understanding those issues? And I've always believed that in a sense of empathy and humanity for your teams, and when you stand by them, I think they always come back and give that in more measure back to you than you'd anticipated. So that's true.
So true. You come across as someone who's completely hands-on and with your team sort of manager. How do you actually approach leadership? Do you think that's some sort of a skill that one has, or is it something that you need to acquire over a period of time?
I would, Dipanshu, say it's a combination of both. Um, some things are innate, so your ability to connect with people, your ability to communicate and having, interpersonal skills, and to be able to move with the times. Those are things that perhaps are innate, but if they're innate, they become a strength, and you can only build upon them. I don't say that this is not something that can't be acquired. I think if you appreciate and understand what are the big requirements of being a leader,
Sure.
and if you understand that as a business need, and I think you can make an effort towards that, and I have seen people grow into these things as well.
Right.
So particularly feel it's a combination. Some skills that you have innate, sort of some abilities that you have innate, let's put it like that, need to be strengthened.
Sure.
If they are a business requirement, and some others which are innate and they can be acquired as skills. And if you have the inherent intent to work towards what is the requirement of the role and of the role that you are doing and the responsibilities that you have,
Right.
I'm sure all sort of mindful and aware leaders will work towards that.
Right. Women, of course, are empowered, but women empowerment is something that is always talked about. What is the kind of approach you take towards empowering women in this organization or within your team?
I think, firstly, given the fact that I am the only senior leader in the company, I think there is it's a bigger responsibility.
Sure.
You are always being looked at, you're always being perceived, and therefore I think you have to be more, careful and more empathetic towards the cause of diversity and inclusion. And that has to first reflect in yourself. So it
Sure.
is always leading by example, because when I was growing up as a young lawyer, and I had an occasion of working with some very fantastic leaders globally, and there is no such thing as somebody sitting down and mentoring you, but you learn so much by observation. So when I always observed people, men and women, and tried to imbibe certain things, I feel today that there may be a whole lot of people who may be looking at us and trying to observe us and trying to emulate us. So the onus on us is to really, really reflect and demonstrate all those values of diversity and inclusion. So that is one way of ensuring that it happens. The other is to do certain very action-oriented things. Say, for example, women are, when they become mothers,
Right.
their maternity, managing that part of it, so that encouraging them that career can move together with this,
Right.
supporting them when the need is there, and even from an inclusion point of view. I would say that even our the other members of the team, men and others, I feel that they have their own issues and problems, because we are humans, we
Right.
we are social animals. So there is not only working in office, but there is a home, and there are people there. There's a larger society that you connect with. Issues of that nature always happen. So there could be a a sad moment in somebody's life, or
Sure.
you lose a near and dear one. How do we stand up and help people? And what do we do as a team? My mantra with my team has always been, and I've encouraged them, I said, you have to have each other's back. And that is extremely important, because if the fist is closed, it has so much more force and strength. If you open it, it really doesn't help. So you have to be there for each other. And I think I encourage that a lot. And my team, if something happens to someone and somebody needs advice and help, I think everyone gets together. People fill in for each other. People tend to do each other's roles in work, and even otherwise. And it's not only just about work. I think I tend to celebrate every little occasion. Just the other day, somebody came and said, we've won a good case.
All right.
So there was somebody in the room, and they said, but you're having sweets for that. I said, we use every occasion that we can to celebrate, because it just adds a necessary pep to the team, and it also gives a feeling of achievement.
Right.
And if the team remains inspired and motivated, I think then half your job is done as a leader,
Very
right?
true. Very true.
I am only a sum total of what my team is.
Absolutely. Yeah.
True.
Yeah. Manjaree, what's your perspective on the current state of the mobility sector? How do you see this sort of evolving in the future, and what are the typical opportunities that you see for the legal fraternity in this evolving mobility ecosystem?
Dipanshu, talking of mobility, and the ecosystem is really evolved. I think ever since I've come to Maruti, which is going to be 5 years now, I have seen a dramatic shift.
Sure.
COVID has accelerated it, and we are all aware of that fact. We have now to understand technology, and this is a play of technology and digital. We have to understand that, and there is a transformation that most organizations are now working towards, because we are going, everything is more online. The customer preferences have changed. COVID has completely changed them. You find people wanting to do the transactions online, which they earlier would do in a physical form.
Right.
So you have to, you as organizations, we have to evolve with the needs and preferences of our customers. So,
Right.
environmental friendly technologies, environmental friendly products. Sustainability is becoming
Sure.
the mainstay, and ESG, we all understand that. I mean, and as large listed entities, it's something that we would have to disclose on going forward. But I think the world has woken up to it, that environmentally sustainable technologies and products are something that we have seen now, and we are evolving. From small cars will continue to remain a important aspect of mobility in India,
Right.
given the kind of the demographics of the country that we have. But yes, there is a whole class that is looking into the mid-size SUVs, and Maruti has also been catching up towards that, and providing those kind of products to our customers. So I think at the end of the day, be it environmental friendly technologies, be it question of sustainability, be it question of going digital, and creating those preferences for our customers,
Sure.
I think are all part of this new mobility ecosystem, and gradually moving into greener technologies, and obviously EVs at some point in time.
Right.
And Maruti itself has put forward its foot in terms of the investments that we are doing
Sure.
in Gujarat already in this direction. So I think it's a great time of evolution. It's a great shift from what we were about 5 years
Very
ago
true.
to where we are going. And I think it's not, it's only going to evolve. And
Right.
it's only going to change further with new things coming up. So I think as organizations, we have to not only understand the current ecosystem, but also look and have the foresight to see what may be coming, and therefore, make your growth plans accordingly. So I think, and in this whole scenario, as legal counsels and as general counsels to the business, we have to appreciate that change.
Right.
And we have to begin to understand what could be the challenges, be it regulatory, be it compliance, be it risk. What are those challenges? Try and preempt them. Try and understand what might come.
Right.
And therefore help the business navigate them in the best possible, in the most compliant manner, but yet in a very solution-oriented manner. I
Sure.
think that would be the way to look at it.
Okay. What is the kind of opportunity that you see for young women trying to get into this mobility ecosystem? If you could give us a sense of that as well.
I think typically the area of mobility has been more sort of, male sort of dominated area, but I think things are changing.
Right.
We do see organizations very open to the idea of having women on the shop floor and doing that job. And I think that not only at the shop floor level, but I think in the organization at large, be it in different functions, in Maruti, we have a whole lot of women in engineering, in marketing and sales.
Right.
And in my own team, I have close to about 40% diversity. So
Okay.
I think there is this sector is evolving.
Sure.
It is a sector that determines a huge part of the way the company's growth, the way the country's growth happens, and I think is always going to be here to stay. So I think just as women try and get into other industries, I think there is a huge room for them even in the auto sector. I would always want to encourage women to come up and do things which it's not about the sector, it's about the way you value add.
Sure.
So when you as a professional can value add and you bring something to the table, I'm sure there's always room for you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
If you could give us, let's say, 3 or 5 key focus areas for women, for leaders in this scenario, and what are that going to be for you as a leader?
I think as a leader and also as a general counsel, I think it's important to keep a close watch on the regulatory landscape.
Yeah.
Because, being compliant with the law of the land is the foremost need of any organization.
Right.
You can only continue when you are compliant. Otherwise, the government has, and the regulatory bodies do have the right to come and shut shop for you. So I think that could be a huge loss of productivity. So I think compliance should be right at the top in terms of this. And I'm very proud to say that Maruti really takes this very seriously. The management takes it very seriously. The board takes it very seriously. And we our endeavor has always been to be a very compliant organization, and we hope to continue that and better ourselves each day.
Sure.
So I think from a regulatory standpoint, that's important.
Okay.
More important also is that we are moving into a data-driven and a digital age. So therefore, understanding data and management of data, collection of data, protection of data, disclosure of data, and therefore destruction of data, I think is going to become a very important aspect of the way organizations will work, and the way I think a very important aspect of even of the legal support that you would have to render to the organization. So management of that is going to become very key, because with that you also have cyber risks, cyber security, which is of course the IT looks into it very, very carefully, but they are related. So management of that on one side and ensuring that there are no such untoward incidents that happen is going to be a very important aspect of this thing. And the last, I think, would be I would stress on is ESG.
Okay.
I think because I see it going the way CSR has gone in India, starting from a very voluntary exercise to now the government making it not only mandatory, but also gradually increasing the enforcements around it. So it's just the beginning now, but I think the world has woken up to it. And you and I, as we speak, the COP27 is underway, and know that the climate change and sustainability and catering to a better environment for the generations to come, I think is becoming a key topic of discussion the world over. And therefore, ESG, where E stands for environment and S for societal, because it's also about people. And it's also about, a company is a shell company without people. So it is all about management and what you do for those people, be it your workers, be it your white-collared employees, the way you manage them, the diversity and the inclusion part of it, all of that, your remunerations, equal pay for equal work, all of that becomes a part of that. And of course, governance has always been there and will continue to remain that. So I think this, in its holistic way as ESG, is going to be something to watch out for as well.
Fantastic. My final question, Manjaree-san, what is the message that you'd like to offer to young women who are keen to make a career in this sector?
Like I always said, first, whatever you do, be passionate about it, because otherwise you wouldn't want to do it, Second is have a level of self-belief. There will always be times where things will not go right, and the life was never fair. So you just have to stand up the next day and tell yourself that it will be all right, and tomorrow is another day, and you just get up and reinvent yourself and go back at it. So that brings me to the next one, which is perseverance. Do not give up. Continue There will be good days, there will be bad days, and you have to just keep at it. And that's what's very important as you climb up your corporate ladder.
Right.
And then don't be in a hurry. There is no shortcut to success.
Sure.
And patience is very important at every level. Even when you are as young professionals, there is an optimum time after which there's a tipping balance, and then you kind of walk into that different space in your career. But even when you are at the senior management level, I think patience is a virtue.
Sure.
And there are many things that you can tide over with being patient. And not that I mean that you don't do anything when you're being patient, but I think it's also not rushing into things, not jumping to conclusions, and being very considered, and giving people around you a little time and space, and even problems some space, because they do have a way of unfolding and eventually
Right.
resolving as well. So I think that also becomes very, very important. And always continue to add to yourself.
Sure.
I think today more than ever before, relevance plays a huge role.
Huge.
So you have to be constantly relevant. We are in a digital age where information is available at a click of a button, right? So before you know it, somebody else is already talking about that. So being on top of things, and so of course, because the information is so much, it's very difficult to ask everyone to know everything.
True.
So you really need to pick your areas, and you need to understand what at any given point in time in your life and in your professional career, what is it of importance, and then focus on that. And what you do, be good at it.
Right.
And value add. I'm sure there's always time and place for you under the sun.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for taking time to speak to us today. Truly appreciate it. It was a delight talking to you.
Thank you so much, Dipanshu, for having me on this show. It has been my pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.